Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our next episode of the Property Investment Australia podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Lachlan, Vidler, and I'm joined, as always, but a little bit differently today, by my other co-host, Will Sanchez. Will, mate, where in the world are you at the moment?
Oh, mate, how you been? Good?
Oh, mate, not bad, not bad. I feel like I just want you to tell everyone about why we're not in the studio as we normally are today.
Well, I had to travel overseas. I'm in Brazil at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm
Back home.
here.
Back home.
Yeah,
How is it
that's
over there? How's the weather?
Yeah, that's pretty good, man. It's not as cold as Sydney,
Yeah.
but it's not as hot as I don't know, Rio, where I am. Yeah,
Is it?
No, it's
is it
good, man.
Is it winter there? You below the
It's same,
below the equator?
it's exactly like Australia. Same thing.
Yeah. Oh, mate. Well,
Yeah,
I'm sure it's
it's pretty
nice to be back over there and obviously seeing a few people and I guess it's
and working
crazy.
away.
Working away. I was gonna say it's crazy technology, right? We can do the podcast. You can still do work as per normal. Technology has really helped us to kind of globalize, really, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. After COVID, I'd say you just learn how to work from home from anywhere. Essentially, I'd say.
Yeah. Oh, mate. Well, we got an awesome episode for everyone today. Something that is very much in your wheelhouse. And we're going to be talking about what's actually holding back people's borrowing power, but not just what's holding it back. We're also going to be talking about what they need to do about it, right? But before we do that, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've just noticed our producers made a little bit of a funny joke for anyone that's watching along on YouTube or anything like that. And put TV star underneath my name. Did you see that?
Yeah, I can see that. It's a good joke, isn't it?
Oh, mate, he's a funny guy, isn't he? Our producer, but mate, I'll tell you what, this TV show that I'm filming, it is absolutely ramping up, but it is setting up to be absolutely incredible when it goes live on 9 in a few months' time. So it's
when does it kick off?
we're still just waiting. Obviously, it's not my show, so I don't know all the ins and outs. But I think we're looking at.
You can't tell.
Nah,
Come on.
I think we're looking around maybe October, November type of time period, somewhere around there. Obviously, it's not up to me, but Budget Battle is on Channel 9, season 2 coming back, and yours truly as the investment expert. So, mate, it's gonna be prime time on 9, and We've already done a little bit of filming on it. We've still got quite a few more weeks of filming to go. So lots and lots happening on that front. But mate, we've turned some very poor homes into some incredible results, and probably more importantly, some families doing it really tough. They've now got some amazing homes that have been renovated in 5 days.
5 days.
5 days, mate.
I can't wait to watch it.
With a sharp investment perspective for me.
Let me tell you, my son loves that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
he watches it a lot. Yeah, well, he would love it.
Oh, mate, you tell him Uncle Lachlan's on the screen. Just point me out to him. Oh, mate. Well, look, let's jump into the episode. I think a nice and juicy one. I think we're gonna put out some good content on this one. Everybody always loves episodes around borrowing power. It's something, I reckon I get a good few emails a week about the show. I know you're much the same, and there's always conversations around borrowing power and how do I keep borrowing to keep buying property and all the rest. And there's little tips and tricks that can be done. At the end of the day, there's certainly only a number of things that you can do, but often the most obvious things are the things that don't get done right. The most obvious things are the things that let people down the most, are the easiest to change, and yet people don't do them, and it has the biggest impact. What's your thoughts on that?
No, absolutely. Some are pretty easy to do, but the problem is you got to make some changes.
Yeah.
And with changes comes some tough decisions, and you just got to make them.
Yeah.
But they're not very hard to be implemented.
Yeah.
You just got to be willing to choose what's your priority.
And I think as well, change is hard for people, right? Like we don't like change as people, so it is certainly a challenge. But for me, the reason why I thought this would be really, really good for us to talk about, other than obviously people asking about it, is we are seeing that rates are they're starting to ease, right? Rates are starting to ease. There's lots and lots of positivity coming back into the market. But as rates are easing, I know we're having lots of conversations with people who work with us at Atlas, and they're surprised when they go and have a look at what their borrowing power is, and they expected it to be significantly better than where it is right now. And for me, that was why I thought this would be a really good episode to look at, because if you've checked your numbers recently and you've been surprised by how little you can borrow, even though rates have been dropping, I think this episode is really going to help you to maybe unpack things that might be holding you back and some practical steps about what you can do to improve that.
Absolutely.
All right, mate. Well, let's jump into it, right? So, yeah. Well, so, oh God, anyone who watches the video, they're going to say, I always get fidgety when I'm sitting in front of a screen. I got the headphones on and everything. Always get a bit fidgety. But all right, mate, let's jump in, right? So,
you're doing well. Don't worry.
I'm doing well. Thank you, mate. So the assumption is always, and it is true on a literal basis. I think it's just the scale that surprises people, right? The assumption is always rates go down, so you can suddenly borrow more, right? And people always think you can borrow a lot more than what you potentially can. But I think that something from my point of view, and you're the expert on this, right? So we're going to be deferring to you a lot in this episode. But from my perspective, borrowing power is so much bigger of an equation than just simply interest rates, right? It's not just about that, right? It involves your current debts. It involves your structures. It involves lender policy. It involves your expenses. It involves performance of properties. It involves so many more things on top of that. And if one of those variables is not in sync with where it needs to be, your borrowing is going to stall. It's going to handicap itself. And that's going to happen even if we're in a rising property market and a falling interest rate environment. What are your thoughts around that?
Oh, absolutely. You hit the hype, the
hay on the nail.
Sorry. Yeah, exactly. Thanks.
Thanks
for that.
In defense of Will, for everyone listening, I believe it's like 8 or 9 p.m. in Brazil. You've worked a full day, and we're now starting to record in the morning Sydney time. But I think nail on the head is what you really meant there, isn't it, my friend?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my friend. That's exactly what I meant. Yeah, but anyway, so going back to it, there's lots of variables, man. When you're looking at your borrowing capacity, people think it's just about interest rate and essentially income. Yeah. There's a lot more to it, and some people get confused about savings being part of this calculation.
Yeah,
right. But the actual savings, it's not really correlated to the borrowing capacity itself. It will help you complete the transaction. Yeah. But the borrowing capacity, it's your capacity to repay the debt, essentially the loan that you can afford, right? So that comes with the debt, that comes with the expenses, and like you said, lots more than just these 2-3 variables that we mentioned.
The other one I want to throw in before we go and unpack the 5 big borrowing power bottlenecks, before we do that, the other one I want to throw on top of that, you talked about cash savings. The other one, and I'm rubbing my hands because I hear it all the time, right? The other one that I hear all the time from people is about equity as well. When people sit there and they go, but I've got all this equity. Why can't I go and buy another property? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? Do you want to?
Yeah, that happens. Yeah. That happens all the time.
Can you talk to people about why that's not the case?
Yeah, well, because the banks don't lend 100%, right? Usually, when you've got a property, 80% is the default that banks will lend against your property.
Yeah.
So whatever debt you currently have will need to be included in the calculation.
Yeah.
Right. So you can't just borrow 100% of the property value. You need to ensure that you look for the right lender policy to be able to go for your property type, because we've done cash outs, we've done different policies for loans above 80%, but you gotta understand why you're doing it and the reason behind it, right? Because you're gonna incur a big LMI cost. Is it worth it? Is it not? When you compare to the opportunity cost Am I doing the right thing? So there's lots of things you gotta check before making the right decision. And there's a big difference between equity and usable equity,
Yeah.
right? I think that's where people get confused.
Yeah.
So the usable equity is, let's say your property is worth $1 million. So 80% of $1 million, 800. So you've got 700,000 owing on it. That means you've got 100,000 of usable equity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like you've got a 700,000 loan and then you've got another 300,000 of usable equity. It's not that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think,
yeah.
And I think the other point that I'll touch on is you also need to have the borrowing power for it. You can have all the equity in the world, but if you don't have the borrowing power for it, the bank won't lend you the money, right?
Oh, absolutely. We do have a lot of scenarios because in the around in the West,
Yeah.
there's lots of people, we call it equity rich,
Yeah.
right? And these people have like $2, $3, $4, $5 million just sitting there.
Yeah.
But to be able to borrow that amount, you got to be able to repay the debt on a monthly basis, right?
Yeah.
So chances are you're borrowing 500, you're gonna pay twice as much over the 30-year period, right? So you got to make sure you understand your monthly repayments essentially every month, and the structure, the repayment type as well. Because if it's principal and interest versus interest only, there's a big difference as well.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's jump into these 5 borrowing power bottlenecks. All right. So I think that for me, and I know, we obviously had some good back and forth about what we think the biggest 5 were, but I think that we've nailed a pretty good set of 5, right? And I think there's also some very, very easy and practical steps that we're going to give for each of those 5, so that people who are sitting back and thinking about, oh, why is my position not as strong as I thought it might be, they can go away and take some actionable steps away from this episode. All right. So let's start with number 1, right? And and this is not in an order. I'm saying number 1, but it's not necessarily the biggest one. However, this one potentially would be as well. What just wasn't designed that way in our planning, right? But number 1, existing debt that's dragging you down, right? So I'll let you. I'll talk. I'll throw a little bit out, and then I'll let you bring in your expertise on it, because you obviously know it a lot better than I do, right? But every piece of debt that somebody has out right now is going to have a repayment attached to it, and that repayment is going to strip out the monthly surplus that you have from your income, which is typically obviously from your job. And when the bank looks at your scenario and they see you make X amount, but you have all these debts that have all these repayments, and any of the excess or the surplus money you have from the income from your job is now going towards that, it's obviously going to strip out your ability to borrow, because the bank is going to say, well, you don't have enough left over.
Yeah, which means you don't have too much enough disposable income.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. So, I mean, the ones that I think of immediately when we're thinking about existing debt that's dragging you down, right? Because there's obviously also a difference between good debt and bad debt, right? But then there's also debt that, can also have a higher impact than maybe people perceive. And for me, the big ones I think about is like car loans, right? Especially novated leases, right? People always think about the tax savings that come along with novated leases, because you get to pay a bit of it in your pre-tax income, and then you pay a bit of it in your post-tax income. But banks hate novated leases. Hey.
Yeah, but let me tell you, people usually, when they're buying properties, for some reason, because they're buying something big, it's a big change, they tend to buy some new cars as well. We've seen it. It happens all the time.
People go on a spending spree.
Yeah, if you get a car, you get a car loan, novated lease, whatever the case may be, it's going to affect your ability to repay more loans.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember when the rates were lower, we had a common client.
Oh no,
he went and spent straight after getting, right before getting the loan.
It was when we were in the
car.
Yeah, it was when you'd done the pre-approval and we were searching, and then she happened to
Yeah.
buy it as we found the property, and then it was like a week or two prior, because then she had the money that had left the account. I think she had the debt against her name as well, and then we were trying to buy a property like a week or two later,
Yeah,
and
but
she
you
didn't tell
remember
us.
the repayment? Yeah, but the repayment was like 1,600 or something. It was a big car,
It's insane, hey?
1,600 per month, and the
It was like
rates were lower at that time, so it was pretty
yeah,
close to like
it was like
you know,
$100,000 car, I
yeah,
think, or
yeah,
more
more. It
even,
was more,
120 maybe. Yeah, I remember it
yeah,
was a luxury European car.
yeah. There's nothing wrong with it, but again, if you're looking to grow your portfolio, you just got to do these things wisely, right?
Well, I think, and that's it, right? Like that was a timings issue, right? Because she didn't tell us. It's a she for everyone listening. She didn't tell us, so then we didn't know. I didn't know when we were finding the property. You didn't know when, like you obviously weren't doing much at that point because you already done the pre-approval. There's nothing for you to do. It was sort of on us at Atlas to
Yeah,
be finding out the property. But then when we did it, and then we went to go, we found the property, and you then went to go do the formal approval on it. She hadn't told us, and then and I think it was the first lender just wouldn't accept her anymore, and we had to go to an alternate lender, didn't we? Like a private lender.
yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so there's the lesson
Yeah.
for everyone. It's not about you can't have nice things in life. It's just about you got to time your nice things well. And past that, that's just the example, right? Just past that though, your car loans are going to impact what you can borrow. Whether it's a novated lease, whether it's just a vanilla up and down car loan, it's going to impact, right? That's one of the most common ones. I think the next
Absolutely.
most common one I see is credit cards, right? And the thing that I laugh at all the time is we'll be talking to a client or a potential client, and we'll say, what sort of debts do you have? We try and run a quick sort of mental calculation on if they're in a position to buy, if they haven't spoken with a broker yet. And they'll go, oh, yeah, I got a credit card and 15 grand limit. I go, okay, all right. And they go, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We don't owe anything on it. We pay it off every month. And then obviously, that's not the
usually
case,
the
right?
conversation, right?
Right. But that's not the case. Like how is it the banks tend to treat credit cards in terms of the limits versus balances?
Yeah, well, it's a credit facility, right? So let's say they give you a home loan today,
Yeah.
and you've got a 20,000 limit credit card, and you go to Vegas with your mates and you max it out. Well, you still have to pay the loan.
Yeah.
And you also have to pay the credit card.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have something called responsible lending.
Yeah.
So they need to ensure that they take the limit instead of the balance when running the calculation.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I know there's no simple number. Every lender's obviously different, but like every dollar of credit card balance could be 5 or 6 times a reduction in your borrowing, right? So like if you have a $10,000 credit card, that could be reducing your borrowing by like $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, right?
Yeah, the repayment, the actual repayment, I think it's about 0.38% or something like that. So it's like if you've got $100 credit card, let's say, and it's if you were paying $3, $3.8 or something like that. It's pretty. It's much like that. So it makes a big impact because some people, for example, American Express, they like high limits. Right?
Yeah.
So the majority of people get like 20,000, 30,000. Some with those limitless credit cards. I'm not too sure if you've seen them.
Yeah.
You just gotta be careful or be prepared. I wouldn't say be careful, but be prepared.
Yeah.
Because that will impact your borrowing capacity significantly. And when I run the numbers, because people don't know these things, right? So when I'm conducting the first meeting, I usually show them the difference with the credit cards, and without the credit cards, and people get gobsmacked. They go,
well, especially if you think about like a couple, right? 2 people, and they've both got a credit card, and they've both got a credit card for $10,000 or $15,000. Like that could very easily be like $150K of borrowing that's just gone, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, credit cards, obviously a big one. Next one I see all the time, like HEX loans, HEX help loans. Obviously, there's been some policies that have come out recently in the last couple of weeks about banks starting to exclude. I don't want to dwell on it too much, right?
You'd be reading the news, eh?
Oh, man, I gotta keep myself, I might not be the mortgage broker, but I gotta keep myself familiar,
That's good. That's good.
You know, we won't dwell on too many of these because we've got 4 other bottlenecks to talk about. But you know, Hex help loans, like they're obviously a really big one as well, right? And then just flat out personal loans. You know, like you know, the amount of people who I think over the years, you know, maybe they're doing it tough at a certain point, and they went to the bank and they, you know, maybe they got like a $5,000 personal loan, like nothing, like not huge, but not small either. And obviously that has a pretty big impact. And a lot of them have very high rates. Like a personal loan, you could be doing, you know, 12%,
10, 11,
you
12.
know,
Yeah.
like
It depends. Yeah.
it happens,
If you
right?
don't have a property, if you don't have a property, things like that can impact
Yeah. A
the rate that you
non-asset
get.
backed loan, right? So I guess
Absolutely.
in terms of that, right, like I'll tell you what I think my perception of the biggest action steps are, and you tell me if there's anything else that you think or if you disagree even. But for me, I think the first action step is you've got to do an audit of all your existing debt, right? You have to do an audit of what all your existing debt is. Everything we've talked about, plus anything else, right? We haven't obviously covered everything, but you've got to do an audit to understand what you have out there. And then there's other ones that slip through the cracks, like your afterpays, right? You don't even realize you've got it. Maybe you signed up years ago.
Not so much afterpays because people usually they're front of mind, but the store cards, the ones that they bought when they bought a computer at Dave Jones 10 years ago, and they got a store card,
$1,000 credit card type of thing. Yeah.
And sometimes overdraft as well. People don't know they've got like $1,000, 5,000 limits.
Yeah.
These things impact your capacity.
For sure. Yeah. So you've got to do an audit, right? If you miss something, your good broker like Will is going to catch it for you, but you got to do an audit, okay? And then I think you've really got to challenge your thinking, because ultimately you can come and talk with me, you can come and talk with Will. Obviously, I can't give financial advice. I'm not going to do it, but I can just have a general conversation around, you know, what might be relevant, you know, in your life at that point in time, right? Somebody like Will can obviously have an actual financial discussion around that with you. But ultimately, you can talk with as many people as you want. But at the end of the day, it's going to be your decision, you know? So I think that for a lot of people, if you sit back and you do your debt audit and you look at it and you go, oh, well, we've got, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 credit cards. We've got this, we got that. You can talk with as many people as you like, but you can probably come up with the same decision about whether they do need to be kept or not without talking to anybody about it, right? So I think you've then got to really challenge yourself to go, do I need this? Or do I need it right now? Because the other classic one, right, is you could go and cancel your credit card, and you know, it obviously depends on your circumstances, but it's very likely after your home loan, you'd be able to go and get another one anyway. But having that credit card might impact your ability to get the best property for your circumstances. So, you know, it might be a case of going, okay, well, you know, we do have a couple of these credit cards. We've got 3 credit cards. Let's close 2 of them, because we've still got to live life. Let's close 2 of them, buy the property, and then if there's really a necessity to go and get another 1 or 2 again, look at it after the fact, you know? Gold standard probably be close.
Couldn't agree more.
Right? Yeah? You agree?
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, but are we coming across a lot of scenarios where the clients had to close all credit cards?
Yeah.
Because
borrowing's still tight for a lot of people, right?
Yeah, it is, especially if you're living in Sydney.
Yeah. Well, I guess the other one I want to throw out quickly is debt consolidation. You know, if you already own a property and you've got a lot of equity sitting there, and you've got some of these higher interest facilities like a credit card, like a personal loan, even car loan, arguably anything, you need to go and have a chat with your broker, because you may very well be able to go and do a debt consolidation, take equity out of the home, which still isn't great, right? Because you're not using it for investment purposes, but now you can take it from a 20% interest rate on your credit card, or a 12 or 15% personal loan, or any measure of other things, and then get it as equity. And now you're only paying 6%. And it's still all the same debt that you obviously had outstanding, but you're now paying a half or a third or even more of the interest rate that you were paying prior. That's an option, isn't it?
Absolutely. We tend to recommend that when we come across these scenarios.
Yeah.
And it's a really, really good way to reduce debt and improve your position, your financial position for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the second one, right? So the second of the 5 borrowing bottlenecks is being with the wrong lender for your profile. Now, I'm going to give my uneducated perspective on this, right? I mean, uneducated from the uneducated from the point of view, it's not my bread and butter, right? I obviously know a lot from my own journey and also from, the clients that we work with. But you're the expert, mate. You're the expert. So it's uneducated in that point of view, right? But not every lender is right for every person or at the same point in time, right? Like, if you're a PAYG, just a regular employee versus if you're self-employed, whether you get bonuses, whether you get allowances, whether you get commissions, even rental income is perceived differently by banks. If you've got a big portfolio, exactly right. So depending on where you are today, let alone where you might be, not all lenders were created equal for your circumstance, right?
Absolutely. There's lenders and lenders, right? One of the things, one of the things we come across a lot is clients saying, I've seen this lender, they're offering like 5.49%. Why can't I get it? Well, I said, let's go for that. I said, well, hang on a minute. This is an interest rate that does exist, but it's not the right one for your personal situation, right? So this is like the vanilla ones. It's an LVR under 70%.
It's 30%
blah,
deposit.
Blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, so if you're self-employed, you've started your business 12 months ago, not a lot of tax returns available, not a lot of information there. So we got to play with what we've got. So once we see these scenarios, we got to point you in the right direction of, all right, who will allow us to get a loan? If you don't go with this lender, what's the opportunity cost? If you have to wait for another 12 months or even 2 years to get the right documentation. So a good mortgage broker will instruct and guide you towards the right option.
Yeah, 100%, right? And I think as well, it's like there's just so many factors that go into it as well, right? Obviously, some lenders will take longer to approve a deal, and you might not have time on your side, right? Some might be very pro-investment. Yeah, some might not be very pro-investment.
Yeah, a common one that we've seen a lot, and it's increased significantly, it's the trust in company purchases.
Yeah.
Right? Not all lenders accept that.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to find the right one to do it that will allow you to get a loan with the set of documentation that you have. And more often than not, you get a point where you want to refinance your loan. But again, if you don't have too many options, again, you got to understand why.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Some people go, I've seen that rate. Well, yes, but it's not for a capital trust purchase.
Yeah.
Right? No, I want to buy that, at 95% LVR. Well, that's not going to happen.
It's the same for super, right? If you're buying in a self-managed super fund, which there's a lot of that going on right now. A lot of people have really clued onto the fact that that's a possibility and that it could be really strong for them once they've had that advice piece. Same thing for super, right? There's only so many lenders that are going to do SMSF purchases. Same as the trust and corporate trustees. Same as self-employed,
and it's a higher rate as well.
Of course, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the less vanilla you are, the higher rate you're going to pay, right? That tends to be just an easy rule of thumb for people to realize.
Right? Absolutely.
So I think for me, like the big takeaway is you don't need to know who is right for your circumstance, right? That is not your job to know. It's not even my job to know, right? We're buying a lot of properties every month, a lot of properties every year. We see a lot of circumstances, and it's still not even up to us to know or decide, right? That's where your good, strong investment mortgage broker is going to help you. And I think the other thing I'd throw out there is that's the problem with going direct to bank, is that if you go direct to bank, the bank is never going to tell you, oh, hey, this other bank is going to be better for your circumstances compared to us, because they're not, that's not in their wheelhouse. And they don't, and in their defense, right, they also don't even know how other banks are going to do it, right? Like your in-house broker at your local CBA branch or whatever is not going to know how the Westpac guy is going to do the same thing, right? But that's why a mortgage broker is so important if you're trying to build a portfolio, because, you're an expert, mate. Like, you're an expert. Good other brokers out there are experts, and they can look at your circumstances and know you should go to that lender, or not you should go to that lender, but like you definitely shouldn't go to this lender. And these are lenders that are more likely to be a fit for your circumstance. And now we just need to explore those ones, and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing that we're seeing a lot lately, the clients who are desperate with Chat GPT, so they read everything around it, and they come to the meeting thinking they know it all. And when sometimes we present some things like very, very niche, they go, "Oh, geez, you cannot find that sort of information anywhere." I said, "Yep,
That's what being an expert does, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's jump into number 3, right? Number 3 of our 5 borrowing power bottlenecks: living expenses that are killing your capacity, right? I mean, mate, I have a heart attack every single time that we talk to a potential client of ours, and we obviously just do a little bit of understanding around their numbers. And the amount of people who either A, don't know how much they spend month to month on their living expenses, and then obviously somebody like you comes in and you actually add it up for them when you get their bank statements or whatever, and you tell them and they're shocked. Or the people who do know, and they know it's absolutely insane the amount that they spend relative to their income, and they don't realize how much that obviously caps their borrowing power. You know, like some people who might be having look, I'm picking an example I can think of. You can mate, overrule me if you think that this isn't a fair one. You know, we see lots of people where the household income might be like, say, 150 grand a year, maybe starting to push 200 grand a year, which in, not too long ago, that was a pretty decent household income, but these days it's not as strong as it used to be. And they're spending like $4,000 or $5,000 a month on household expenses, right?
Oh,
on
yeah.
their living
Well,
expenses.
let me tell you, we see a lot worse than that, because 5,000 is not a lot anymore. Like if you've got 2 kids,
Yeah.
bang, that's you
Bro,
can't live. You can't live.
But like 5,000 on like 150K, like you think that's 60 grand a year, and that's 60 grand after tax, and your 150 is pre-tax. Like, I mean, what's 150? Like, you might be lucky to walk away with 120, 115, 120, and you're spending over half of that. And that doesn't even include your rent and everything or whatever.
Yeah, but this is underrated, let me tell you, because a lot of people don't know how much they spend. They think it's the ballpark. Sometimes it's like, geez, really? Okay, and that's a very important piece of the puzzle, because when we start the process, when we run the numbers, we at that point we haven't seen the documents yet. We haven't cited any documents, so it's all about what they think. Right. So it's very, very, very important for the brokers out there and for clients to give the right information to so they can run a good assessment. Is as close to reality as possible, right? Because I've seen like crazy ones, 10,000, 11,000, expenses per month. And they tell you, I think about 4.5. It's like, how is that possible? How is that
Mate,
possible?
it's insane. It's absolutely insane, right? And I think that the point is that every bank is going to deal with that differently. So there's no one measure that you can go off about how it's going to impact. But you got to understand that it has a huge impact. And all you have to do is rein in your spending for a couple of months prior to going for your pre-approval, and then keep it at a reasonable level before you buy the property. After you've bought it, you can obviously go and spend whatever amount you want. The bank doesn't really care at that point in time. I'm not advocating that's a responsible decision, but you can obviously go and do that if you want. But as you're approaching, it's crazy, right? Like, and that's what you got to start to really look at. Do you need to be having Uber Eats 4 times a week? Do you need to be going out for dinner 2 times a week? And the 2 times a week you go out for dinner, you're spending like $300 or $400 on each dinner. Do you need to be going and just doing all these things all the time, or pull it in for 3 or 4 months, get your ducks in a row, buy your property, and then go back to it?
Yeah, and like everything in life, it's all about preparation, right? That's what you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
So go have a chat to a broker, get ready.
Yeah.
3 months, get it all cleaned, get it ready. So then there's no questions asked later.
Yeah. And I guess my hot tip for everyone would be, it is easier than it's ever been to understand what your spending habits are, right? Like, for example, I'll give you a couple of red hot tips. First, you could just run a traditional budget, right? Run a traditional budget on Excel. You could do it that way. That's fine, right? Your next version is if you go into any of the banking apps these days, I'm not talking about your alternative apps. I'm talking about like go to your Combank app or whatever. Bring up the account that you make all your payments from, and it will tell you all the money that went out this month, right? And of course, and that will give you
and it categorizes as well.
Exactly. And that's what I was going to say. It'll give you your initial snapshot, but then you can go in and obviously you can exclude things that you know were a one-off, right? If you know, oh, I had to buy, I don't know, like my TV busted and I had to buy a new TV this month. Like, of course you can exclude that, but it's going to give you in like 30 seconds or less, a pretty quick overview about how much you're spending. And you can look back at previous months. But the other important thing is don't then go through because you're embarrassed and go, oh, well, I don't have to do that, so I'll take that out. And I don't have to do that, and I'll take that out. And suddenly you're like, oh, so really, I only spend like this amount of money, but you've just taken out half your expenses. When the reality is you do spend it all the time. Like, just don't be embarrassed about it. Embrace it, and then make changes as you're approaching your property journey, right?
Yeah, I like that.
You like that? All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on to number 4 of the 5 borrowing power bottlenecks, right? Holding a property that is working against you. And this is something that I see all the time, mate, all the time, right? You know, we've done so many episodes now, and there's so many episodes we talked about around, you know, properties that might be an anchor in your portfolio. But talking about it from a borrowing power point of view, if you're holding the wrong property, whether that's any investment property or in a lot of circumstances, your principal place of residence, it is going to be a suck on your borrowing power, right? It takes up your debt. And for example, on the investment front, if it's taking up some of your debt capacity, and let's say you've got an extremely low yield, right? Let's say you went and bought that blue chip property in Sydney, and it really wasn't a smart investment idea because everyone knows, you know, I don't think that's the right way to start your portfolio, especially for your average person. And you're getting a 2 or 2.5% yield. That's going to just suck you dry, right? It's going to suck you dry.
Absolutely. No, you gotta be sensible. It's all about understanding your goals.
Yeah.
And then putting the right mitigants in place.
Yeah. Yeah. I got two really quick, they're very similar, but 2 really quick examples of this, right? So first one is we've got a client. It's not a client you and I share, but Atlas has a client. A guy came on. I think I may have told this story before, but I think it's so relevant here. Came on, bought his first property with us. We absolutely killed it for him. I think we got him about $110,000 of equity in 6 months or 8 months, or 6 or 7 months, sorry. And that was off like a $600K property, right? Like, we absolutely killed it for him. He'd already been thinking before us about, like, he wanted to be able to keep pushing hard, but he had a PPOR, and he had already done the research that he could live in his same house. If he wasn't paying the mortgage, he was just paying it as rent. He could live in the same house for half the price, right? Half the price. So after we killed it for him on his first property, he then convinced his wife. They sold the principal place of residence. They've gone and moved into a different house in the same suburb. They're now paying rent. They're now paying half or a third of what they were paying before. And now, and he came back on to buy 2 or 3 more investment properties with us at the same time, right? And I think we've done.
Oh, mate.
I think we've done another 2 of them.
This guy deserves an award. He convinced his wife. That's
right.
Good
I know.
on him.
Right? Oh, mate, that's the gold nugget out of this story, right? But is that not crazy? But for him, it was a property that was working against him. Like, he had no allegiance to that property. It was just that the wife loved it and loved knowing that they owned their own home. But once he could show her the results of being able to invest, he was able to convince her, and then they made a way smarter decision, which was
but think about that. How difficult is it to make that change? Like, to accept it and make the change, right?
Of course, but that's my point, right? Is that this guy actually took action, and it's not like it was something small, but the compensation for that is he's now built out. We did the first one. We've bought 2. I think we're now doing his 4th one for him. So he's now going to have a 4-property investment portfolio. It's now going to be valued at more than what that house was anyway after we're done, because of the uptick in income from him and making some other smarter decisions. And he's now got assets that are actually working for him that's diverse. Like, he's just in a way better position, right? Way better position.
Yeah.
And And you know what? I'm not even going to tell the second story because I think that story was good enough, right? I'm not even going to bother.
Yeah, I love that. I love
it. Right? But that's the point about holding a property that's working against you, right? And a lot of people don't think about the fact that their own home might be that bottleneck for them, right? And of course, the solution doesn't always have to be we're going to sell it. A solution could be you might be able to rent it. You might be able to rent it out. And if you do the sums, you move out, you rent something else for cheaper. That property can rent. It might not be as good of a return as buying a pure play investment, but it's still not bad. And you're still in a different circumstance, right? But you got to explore those options, right?
Different options. Yeah, absolutely. Right? Look outside the box.
100%, right? So that's number 4, holding a property that's working against you. And we're going to round it out with number 5, which is incorrect structuring, right? Incorrect structuring or, we'll just go with incorrect structuring, right? So in terms of this one, I'll tell you a lot of things that I see, and I know you're going to have some feedback on it, right? So it's not just one thing. And when we talk about structuring, people probably immediately go to like what name or entity you're buying it in. And that is obviously a piece, right? Like a big one is you're making decisions today that aren't necessarily reflective of what the future needs to be, right? So that could be buying in your personal name when maybe you should be looking at trusts and corporate trustees and all the rest. It could be around like whether you're buying in super, right? It could be about whether you're buying in personal. Like that is one side of it, structuring, right? In terms of the entities. The other ones, though, that could be things like putting things on fixed or variable rates or splits. That now impacts whether or not you can refinance out to other banks that you could get better rates, better valuations on your properties. Could be things about like, you go.
There's even easier ones out there. And I think you or someone from Atlas came to me saying, hey, Will, can you have a look at this for us?
Yeah.
Because one of your clients spoke to a broker. Yeah. And the broker, it was an investment, a true investment.
Yeah.
And this broker said, well, I reckon you should do it like an 80% loan.
Yeah.
And he used up all his savings, all of it, nothing left, none.
Yeah.
And he set it up as P&I for the guy.
Yeah.
So he was like strangled. So when we saw it, we suggested something different, which put him in a much, much, much better position. Right? But it was just a matter of understanding. And if you think about it, it's just a P&I versus interest-only loan. You spend more money, less money. So very, very simple. Where are we in the property cycle? Is it a good time to fix a loan? Is it a good time to go variable? Yeah. So you got to understand these things because they play a massive role in your
absolutely. And it's about your stage of your property journey as well, right? Like if you're at a point in your journey where you're trying to rapidly expand, you're going to be making decisions that somebody who's not trying to do that, that's really maybe trying to consolidate debt or pay it down or do other things, they might make completely different decisions. But each version of that choice is going to have a corresponding impact, right? And that's the problem. People don't think 2 or 3 steps ahead. And I think that a lot of the reason that people don't think 2 or 3 steps ahead is because it's not their expertise, and they then don't have the good advice, right? And we did a big episode on building the right team around you. If you don't have that team, how are you to know any difference? It's like being sick. If you walk into a doctor, it's not your job to know what's wrong with you and what's the fix. You just walk in with your symptoms. Same thing here. Yeah. Your symptoms are what it is you're trying to achieve and what your circumstances of today are. And it's up to them to work out the solution for you, right?
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah.
So to me, that's the big fix to structuring for safety, right? Not structuring with an idea of scale, right? Is you have to be thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead, and you have to have that right team around you because they can give you that advice. And it doesn't mean that you always have to follow it, right? At the end of the day, you've got to make your decisions and be comfortable, but you want to be able to receive the advice so you can make an informed decision, right?
Yeah, I like that.
So what I realized, I'm going to jump back. I forgot to give the action steps for number 4, which was the holding a property that's working against you. I forgot to give the action steps for that one. So if everyone's thinking you didn't do that, right, I'm just going to quickly come back to it. So in terms of that one, the action steps out of that is you need to do a review of the properties you have, right? And that's something that we do for a lot of clients, right? So if you don't have the capacity to do it properly, and I would make the recommendation that most of you don't, come and have a chat with my team, atlaspropertygroup.com.au/review, right? /review. And then you can drop it in an inquiry and we will get in touch with you about doing a portfolio review. But you've got to review your assets, because if you don't, you're not going to understand if they're potentially working against you. Because the other side is people like Will and I talk all the time about this. If you come for a review and you say, I want to be doing X, can you have a review and tell me if this is maybe impacting? People like Will and I then talk all the time to run that scenario past them to go, oh, mate, what do you think? We're thinking this, blah, 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 right? So you got to do that, right? So there you go. That's what the action steps are for holding a property working against you. Come and get us to help you review it, right? It might only cost you a couple of $100, and pretty much every account I've spoken to said it's probably a tax deduction, so it's even cheaper for you. Come and let the experts do it for you. All right. So, mate, that's everything for today. That is everything for today. That is our 5 borrowing power bottlenecks. We've got number 1, existing debt that's dragging you down. Number 2, being with the wrong lender for your profile. Number 3, living expenses, which are killing your capacity. Number 4, holding a property that's working against you. And number 5, not structuring in the right way, especially for scales.
Beautiful. That's
happy with that,
good,
mate?
Good summary.
Yep.
Wrap it up.
Well, mate, let's wrap it up there. So, guys, I hope you've enjoyed that episode. Borrowing power, it's often misunderstood. It's nowhere near as simple as people think. And sometimes the simplest changes can have the biggest impact, and things that are within your control. So hope you've taken something away from that. Now, if you are wanting somebody to really dive into that borrowing power conversation with you and help you out, you've got to go and have a chat with Will and his team over at Aussie Newtown. Even though Will right now is taking over Brazil, he's still Aussie Newtown. He's still the platinum guy out of Aussie Newtown, right? So go and have a chat with them. Contact details in the bio. And if you want to come have a chat with us, right, there's a reason why I do this media. There's a reason why I'm the investment expert on Channel 9. If you are looking to build or continue scaling your property portfolio, come and have a chat with myself and the team at Atlas Property Group. I like to think we're pretty damn good at what we do. So if you're looking to build out that portfolio, atlaspropertygroup.com.au, and fill in the inquiry form, and we'll be in touch to help you continue building and scaling your portfolio. But until next time, we'll see you then.
This is a Piccolo podcast production.